Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope your day is starting off just fantastic. Let me introduce the video here with this beautiful picture behind me posted by Pamela in the I Choose Canada group. It's Lake Superior just north of Sault Ste. Marie. And if there's anyone watching from Mexico, let me let you know, no caliente, agua frio, muy frio. Now why would I be speaking directly to some of our friends, viewers from Mexico? Well, it just happens that Canada and Mexico have some big things planned. Our two countries are planning some major cooperation in trade in the near future. And it wasn't too hard to predict this. Most of us knew that this was going to happen, and most world leaders kind of understood that this is a logical step forward. Actually, most people kind of figured this out really early in life, grade 1, grade 2. Do you remember when you were in grade 1, grade 2? Those first few years at school? And that you really looked forward to recess. And it was the most fun part of school in grade 1 and grade 2. But then in grade 3, something happened. The first time you went out for recess, there was 15 new kids and you were ready to form new friendships and go out there and play again. But there just happened to be one kid that really wasn't very nice. A real arrogant ass that bullied and threatened and insulted all the other kids and wanted to control everything, wanted all the kids to play with him and go by his rules. And he was always rude and he was really creepy and he really made all the other kids uncomfortable. And recess started to not be so much fun anymore. Well, at that age in grade 3, the solution was easy. All the other kids started playing independently and excluding the bully. And they wouldn't invite the bully to play hopscotch or hide and seek. They would just ignore him until finally the bully became really sad because he had no friends. And he had to go sit in the corner by the swings while all the rest of the kids played. It was simple. Well, actually, for me, it was a little bit different. I was a little bit of an influencer, a little bit of an instigator when I was young. I gathered up all my friends, all the other kids, and we cornered the bully and wrestled him to the ground and gave him a wedgie, an atomic wedgie, where you pulled the underwear really high up over his head and then left him there by the swings to cry. And he didn't bully us anymore. But the moral of my imaginary story is this. All world leaders were once kids themselves. And in grade 1 and 2 and 3, they probably had their own situations and their own experiences of how to deal with bullies. And they're just using this experience now to deal with the United States. Ignoring the idiot, the bully from the United States, let him cry and pout by the swings by himself, while the rest of the world works together. In particular, let's get back to the topic of this video, Canada and Mexico. Reported here on CBC, February 15th, Ottawa sees huge opportunity as trade delegation heads to Mexico. The Canadian trade mission in Mexico this week could produce new deals by early spring and marks the country's most significant such mission ever to Mexico, according to Canada-US Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc. And this isn't just a little trade delegation. Minister LeBlanc is leading the mission, which will see over 370 Canadian delegates and more than 200 businesses in Mexico from Sunday to Monday, visiting Mexico City, Monterrey, and Guadalajara. And this comes on the heels of Mexico and Canada signing a bilateral economic agreement in October last year. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum highlighted several new potential areas of collaboration. Canadian leadership is interested in more diverse and resilient supply chains via Mexico, while the Mexican government wants to increase bilateral trade through direct access to Canadian ports, making the country less dependent on existing U.S. maritime channels. So it looks like both our Prime Minister and the President of Mexico know how to deal with a bully. They're going to get down to work, excluding him. Now, other than dreaming of enjoying a day sitting on the beach enjoying a cerveza con limón, most Canadians don't know much about trade between our two countries. Mexico is Canada's third largest merchandise trading partner after the US and China, with two-way trade reaching nearly 56 billion Canadian dollars in 2024. Third largest trading partner. Other than cerveza, what do we trade with Mexico? Mexico is rapidly emerging as a major global EV manufacturing hub, with production projected to exceed 300,000 vehicles annually by 2026. And Doug Ford, if you're watching this video, in Mexico, BYD and Geely, Chinese companies, are actively seeking to expand, including potential bids for existing automotive plants. So about that $5,000 rebate to purchase EVs worth under $50,000 in Canada, it just might be that those will be manufactured in Mexico instead of the United States. Now, Canada needs to get a piece of that action because we're a bigger consumer of automobiles than Mexico. So Doug Ford, stop referring to these Chinese EVs as rolling surveillance units and start negotiating with BYD to have them manufacture them in Ontario. Let's look at a little bit more information here on what Canada imports from Mexico here on the Trading Economics website. Our imports from Mexico have jumped up significantly over the past 3 years. Back in 2013, Canada imported about $26 billion worth of goods from Mexico. And in 2024, those imports increased to $33 billion worth. The top things we import from Mexico: vehicles, electrical and electronic equipment, machinery, nuclear reactors and boilers, optical, photo, technical, medical apparatus, edible vegetables, and certain roots and tubers. I didn't know we imported tubers from Mexico. Well, what does Mexico import from Canada? In 2013, they imported $9.8 billion worth of goods, and that's jumped up. In 2024, they imported $13 billion worth of goods from Canada. They imported vehicles, machinery, nuclear reactors, boilers, electrical, electronic equipment, miscellaneous chemical products, plastics, meat and edible meat offal. We also export iron and steel, aluminum, oilseed, cereals, mineral fuels, articles of iron or steel, and rubbers. I was wondering who was buying all our rubbers. So with our two countries working closer together now, it's no surprise you find stories like this reported on CBC. Canadian entrepreneurs look to Mexico to boost business. As the federal government begins its trade mission to Mexico, the delegation will include several Canadian companies that have grown their business by bypassing the U.S. entirely. And as reported here February 14th, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce expands its collaboration with Mexico's business community. This week, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce President and CEO, Candice Lang, will announce a commitment to increase its engagement with its Mexican business counterparts, paving the way for more business opportunities between Mexico and Canada. In collaboration with the Government of Canada's Team Canada trade mission to Mexico this week, the Canadian Chamber is leading a parallel mission made up of 36 Canadian business leaders from various corporate sectors, including mining, energy, agriculture, transportation, tech, life sciences, as well as from legal, consulting, and financial service firms. These efforts are in lockstep with a Canada-Mexico action plan announced by President Sheinbaum and Prime Minister Mark Carney last September. The Canadian Chamber is leveraging its unique position across Canada, a network connected to some 200,000 businesses of all sizes, to play its part ensuring that Canada can double its alternative trade volume within 10 years. Well, it's good to hear that their efforts are in lockstep. But seriously, this is all good news. This is all exactly what you want our government to be doing now, to forging new alliances and new deals and new supply chains and getting businesses involved and moving full speed to diversify our trade with everyone other than the United States. The trade that companies are currently doing with the United States isn't just going to vanish and go away, although the president is trying his best to achieve that goal, especially targeting our auto sector. So we have to diversify with other countries. It's just like we learned when we were in grade 3 and we all got together and we tackled that bully by the swings and we pulled his underwear up right over his head. He didn't bully us anymore. The imaginary story that I told you at the beginning, it's just like that. World leaders were kids once too, and this is not hard. Okay? Relationships are not really that hard. You just have to be respectful and polite and treat each other as equals and not try to be bombastically, buffoonishly rude and not resort to insults and threats as your first means of communication. Most world leaders approach international relations respectfully and maturely, trying to do the best they can for their countries and their citizens. And if world leaders can work together to do that, it'll make the whole world a better place, excluding one place, because that's what their leader chose, to sit by the swings by himself, upset, with his underwear over his head. Thanks for watching my video today, and thank you, Pamela, for posting all the various pictures of the agua frio, no caliente, that I cycled through while doing the video. Leave your comments in the comment section and let me know what you think. I'm pretty excited about Canada increasing its relationship, its trade relationship with Mexico. And I may go visit Mexico in the next little while here and work on my Spanish. Leave your comments and let me know your point of view and fill in the quiz. Do you think it's a good idea for Canada to increase its trade with Mexico one-on-one, excluding the United States? That's the quiz question for today. Have a fantastic rest of your day, everyone, and I'll catch you all on the next one.